one that died pretty recently who was really big. And he just had this feeling when he would meet people. I mean, he talked about it a little bit. He was just obese. You know, it was just this thing where you're just, oh, look at this enormous fat guy. And then to go from that to, oh, there's a guy. There's a normal guy.
Yeah.
That's just a guy. It's a 168-pound guy. Normal, no difference between him and
I
anybody else.
I gotta tell you, I know we love to beat up on fat people. We love to turn it into a character defect. But I gotta tell you, virtually every fat person that I know or that I've taken care of, they are not disproportionately eating more than their peers. In some cases, yes, but not on balance. The problem is that they simply do everything incorrectly metabolically. You know,
so their body is functioning incorrectly.
Yeah, and it's you know,
and it's
I think there's a genetic
component.
I think there are dietary exacerbations. I think certainly not exercising makes things worse. So there are lots of predisposing factors. But at the end of the day, what's happening is when you and I eat, like let's take a meal that like if you had pancakes, bacon, and scrambled eggs, that would be like a really good mix of, that'd be a third carbs, a third protein, a third fat. So that's like a shit ton of nutrient, right? If you or I ate that, yeah, it probably wouldn't be that good for us. But like let's say we just finished a workout or something, like we're going to partition such that that glycogen will first and foremost go to replace the muscle and liver stores of glycogen. Because we have bigger muscles and our muscles are more insulin sensitive, we can actually disproportionately put more glycogen into our muscles, into the leg muscles, because you'll have done that run up the hills, right? And then furthermore, when we want to recruit energy again, we'll have the ability to actually go back and get fat, in other words, break down fat at lower ATP demands than necessarily always going to glycogen. So in other words, we partition fuel in a smarter way. And these patients, I mean, you can measure this clinically using something called RER and of course doing other blood tests. Like they can't break down their own fat.
So their body is essentially broken in that regard, and that can be fixed with diet.
It's a hard problem because the way I explain it to people is, and clinically I'm not interested in weight loss, right? I mean, that's just not, I'm much more interested in longevity. And yes, sometimes weight loss comes with that, but if I ever get stuck doing, weight loss, like I'm doing the wrong thing for my interest. But the way I say to people when they want to lose weight is, look, you don't want to lose weight, you want to lose fat. Let's be very clear on our semantics. Weight is irrelevant. Right, unless you're a cyclist or some athlete for whom the actual scale means something. But for people like us, it's you want to lose fat, not weight. And then when you say you want to lose fat, what does that mean in English? Well, do you want fewer fat cells or do you want each fat cell to be smaller? Those are totally different questions. If you want fewer fat cells, have liposuction. But we know that doesn't fix you metabolically. So if you want if you want to be less fat, you have to have smaller fat cells. Now a fat cell conceptually has two inputs and one output. So now I say, let's reframe the question. You got a room with 100 people in it. You want fewer people in the room. What has to happen? More people have to leave the room than enter the room. So similarly, if you have a fat cell and you want it to be less fat, you got to get more fat out of it than enters it. And the fat that exits the cell exits via a process called lipolysis. And the inputs to a fat cell are something called de novo lipogenesis, which is turning carbohydrates into fat, and reesterification, which is turning fat, like in a free fatty acid, into a triglyceride back into a fat cell. Each of those three doors is controlled by hormones. And so the purpose of nutrition or fasting or exercise or drugs or hormones or all these